Hello everybody and welcome back to the show. I'm your boy John, and today we're going to be looking at 6 players who I think are mispriced on the Dynasty market and whether you should be buying, selling, or holding those players. Without further ado, you're watching John Talks Ball, and let's get into it. Alright, so the first buy of the day is going to be Drake London, wide receiver of the Atlanta Falcons, and I think something crucial I've been noticing about the Dynasty landscape, specifically right now, is that as we get closer and closer to redraft, it becomes more and more easy to buy these veteran players, especially when they are not in the most lucrative offensive situations. With a guy like Drake London, we know he's going to be being thrown to by Tua Tagovailoa or Michael Penix coming off an ACL tear. That is not the most exciting scenario to be in, and I think Drake London is getting slightly discounted as a result. Drake London is a 24-year-old super talent at the wide receiver position, and many people remember him getting hurt last year and putting up some very poor performances near the end of the year. Now, something very crucial to know about Dynasty is that when you return to play, you're not always going to be returning to performance. That's likely what we saw from Drake London down the stretch of that season, and the fact that it burned people in the fantasy championships may mean there's a window open to buy. Now, here are a few deals I located on the Dynasty Daddy trade database that I think would be relevant and great to pick up Drake London for your team. So the first deal I saw on the Dynasty Daddy trade database that would demonstrate how you could properly buy Drake London is packaging Devontae Smith, the 2.08 in this year's class, and Zach Charbonnet in exchange for London. This is a great deal, and the London side would win by a lot, as you're getting 3 years back from Devontae Smith into Drake London, who's also just a much better wide receiver and has the upside to finish as a top 5 scorer at his position. And all you're really giving up is Zach Charbonnet, who's coming off of an ACL tear, and we may not even see him in 2026, and the 2.08 in a class that we all know is not very deep. That side would be Drake London by a lot. Another Drake London deal I spotted on Dynasty Daddy would be Drake London for the package of Chuba Hubbard, the 1.08 and the 2.08. This one is also a little bit atrocious. Drake London should be valued as a high-tier, sustainable wide receiver who's going to be around for a long time, and you're essentially giving up the equivalent of Kenyon Sadiq, or whatever player is around at the 1.08 as your main piece, and Chuba Hubbard and the 2.08 as throw-ins. That one is going to be London by a lot. And before anyone comments, this can't happen in my league, this can't happen in my league, we are pulling deals from real leagues where this is going down. You never know what you can do if you just send the offer and see. Alright, let's take a look at our next player. So the next player we're going to be looking at today is going to be Bucky Irving, and he's also going to be our first sell of the day. Bucky Irving is a running back I've been out on for a little bit now, and overall his profile isn't super inspiring to me, and I don't think he holds that much long-term value as of right now. He's injured again this offseason and is at risk of missing training camp programs, and at the end of the day is only a 4th round running back. Every offseason, we stress and we worry that our 4th round running backs are going to get replaced in the draft, and Bucky Irving had an interesting running mate join him via free agency this year in the form of Kenneth Gainwell, who just finished last season as the Steelers' team MVP by their own voted standards. Overall, Bucky Irving is just a guy who I wouldn't be holding at price specifically. He's going pretty dang high on Keep Trade Cut right now, I believe 71st overall, and that is a guy I would just sell at price next to some names next to him, like Baker Mayfield, who's just 31 years old and should have a job in the NFL as a quarterback for the next foreseeable few years. Let's take a look at some deals you can use to sell Bucky Irving in your Dynasty leagues. So the most interesting deal I saw to sell Bucky Irving on Dynasty Daddy occurred this morning, where somebody flipped Bucky Irving straight up for the 2026 1.05. That guarantees you one of Makai Lemon, Jordyn Tyson, Carnell Tate, or Fernando Mendoza in your Dynasty league, and that is overall immediately more valuable than having a Bucky Irving on your team. Bucky Irving goes into a season in 2026 where if he doesn't perform, he is essentially going to be dead as a Dynasty asset. A 4th round running back's value is only existent on the basis of producing. Another down season from Bucky Irving, I guarantee you, will bury him. Meanwhile, you're going to get into a rookie like Mendoza, Tate, Tyson, or Lemon with that early 1.05 or earlier type selection, and those guys are just going to hold value for far longer. In an alternative deal I saw that captures the same idea, I saw Bucky Irving combined with Tyrone Tracy to receive the 104. Overall, that selection is just going to be worth much more than Bucky Irving, and I can't fathom doing this to acquire Bucky Irving. He is an easy sell right now at the value he's being sold for. Bucky Irving was also swapped 1-for-1 for Marvin Harrison Jr. this morning, another trade that I think is just so iffy, and you should always be taking the Marv side there. Marv is a young receiver going into his age 23 season and still has so much untapped potential in the league that I bet we will see unlocked in part this year under coach Mike LaFleur. Alright, let's take a look at our third player of the video. So the third player we're going to cover in today's video is going to be our second buy of the day, Oronde Gadsden. Oronde Gadsden is primarily a buy because David Njoku just signed with the Chargers, which to me is just super Dynasty irrelevant news. David Njoku realistically looked very cooked on the Browns and got his job stolen by Harold Fannin. Oronde Gadsden arguably plays a very similar role to Harold Fannin, a minus blocking tight end who doesn't really add anything in that department, but is a very good NFL receiving tight end. And although it might be a little iffy to see Oronde Gadsden getting on the field for full-time participation, it is still more than likely that he'll be doing most of the receiving work in that tight end room. He's kind of a guy I would be doing a heat check on. You're not exactly trying to buy him at all costs because some managers likely see past the free agent signings the Chargers have made in the form of Charlie Kolar and David Njoku. It's more than likely the Chargers just wanted to beef up their tight end room, and this doesn't really affect the status of Oronde Gadsden. So let's check out the price you can find Oronde Gadsden for on today's market. Oronde Gadsden. According to the Dynasty Daddy trade database, there are a plethora of deals out there to acquire Oronde Gadsden, some of my favorites including seeing Oronde Gadsden moved 1-for-1 for Matthew Golden. Realistically with Matthew Golden, although I'd love to see him succeed just like with every other player, the type of prospect he is, along with the fact that he couldn't stand out in that Green Bay wide receiver room, which we all know has been a little bit meh over the last few years, says a lot about his future success, and I personally would just rather bet against Golden at his price than with him, and flipping him into a guy like Oronde Gadsden, we've already seen be productive on the NFL field rather than just having to project, is a deal I would make instantly and take Gadsden there. We also saw Gadsden moved for a 2027 first and Gadsden on one side, all in exchange for Javonte Williams. I would rather have the 2027 first alone than Javonte Williams, so just adding in Oronde Gadsden feels like taking someone's lunch money for free. Oronde Gadsden and a 2027 first over Javonte by a lot, unless you have some freaky running back settings. Finally, we saw Oronde Gadsden moved 1-for-1 for Michael Wilson. This one is a little bit more fair, although I would still prefer the Oronde Gadsden side, especially in tight end premium. Hardly ever do we see an offense produce 3 fantasy relevant weapons, and when it comes to Michael Wilson, I would just rather bet on McBride and Marvin Harrison to be the productive guys there. They are the better prospects and have just shown the potential to be those alphas before. Not anything against Michael Wilson. His breakout was very real, but he is just likely to be the lesser of those 3 wide receivers / receiving threats in that offense. I would rather have Gadsden than Michael Wilson right now, especially in tight end premium. Alright, let's take a look at our fourth player of the day. So the fourth player of today's video is someone I didn't even plan on covering until I saw him get drafted at the 1.08 in my Dynasty League that was recently drafting, and that is just far too out of this world for me, and it's something that I think stems from the problem of people not doing their post-draft scouting and just sticking to what they knew from pre-draft. Nick Singleton was a big name in the pre-draft process and somebody that we originally thought could go as early as day 2. He breaks his foot during the process and ends up dropping into day 3 to the Tennessee Titans. Yes, there is opportunity on the Titans, but the way Nick Singleton is going and the location he's going in some of these Dynasty rookie drafts is what makes him a sell today. Nick Singleton is only the 3rd string running back on the Titans right now, and yes, there is a path for him to reach the RB1 in that situation, but that is a lot of projecting and is just not in agreement with the historical hit rates of day 3 running backs. It is more of a stab in the dark to take Nick Singleton, and I would not be taking him over any names like Jeremy Bernard, Eli Stowers, Dazon Stribling, or the other guys that go in that late round 1 to early round 2 phase. Just a funny anecdote. Going at the 108 allowed me to get Kenyon Sadiq with pick 1.09, so shout out my league mate who had Nick Singleton valued above Sadiq. Let's take a look at some trades to see how Nick Singleton is going on the market. To begin, looking at the Dynasty Daddy trade database with Nick Singleton, I don't think there was a single deal executed where I would not have immediately sold Nick Singleton in exchange for the other side. To begin, I saw Nick Singleton exchange directly for a 2027 second. That is just going to be a much better deal. The odds Nick Singleton becomes something in the league is very low based on historical hit rates of these 3rd day running backs, and getting a 2027 second that's just set to grow in value is the better play there. I also saw Nick Singleton swaps directly for Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt. This is fine. I mean, Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt at least has done it before on an NFL field and is projected to be the RB1 in that offense. That's just better than Nick Singleton's situation straight up, and it's much more likely Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt finds some value in season and you can sell him when that occurs. All right, let's move on to our 5th player in today's show. So our 5th player of today's video is going to be Jordyn Tyson, wide receiver of the New Orleans Saints, and is just someone who I think is so criminally undervalued right now. I'm trying to buy up all the shares of him I can. The first deal I saw on the Dynasty trade database that really dropped my jaw was seeing Devontae Smith combined with who I believe was Jalen Coker in exchange for Jordyn Tyson. This is, again, not close at all. The draft capital on Jordyn Tyson is going to help him hold value for a long time. I know he might be injury prone, but at the end of the day, the NFL team picked him at number 8 overall, telling us they're very, very confident in his ability to be an asset for them going forward. The throw in of Jalen Coker means nothing here realistically, and you're just getting a player who's 6 years younger on a team that has a lot of upside in the New Orleans Saints under Kellen Moore. Kind of a no-brainer for me there. Another deal I saw for Jordyn Tyson on the Dynasty trade database was Jordyn Tyson for the package of J.K. Dobbins, Bucky Irving, and a 2027 4th. In case you didn't hear earlier in my logic, Bucky Irving is a guy we're looking to sell here, and the combination of Bucky Irving and J.K. Dobbins and that little throw-in pick is not worth Jordyn Tyson. Jordyn Tyson by a lot there, and I would strongly recommend you go out and check on the price of Tyson. So before we break into the last player of today's video, I wanted to let you guys know that the John Talks Ball community Discord officially launched on Thursday. Over there, you're going to be able to access free Dynasty advice from me. I'll be pretty active over there in the different chat forums. You're going to be able to ask in advance questions for the YouTube, as well as get some free roster breakdowns as the first few people join the Discord. Hope to see you guys over there and looking forward to helping you out with those teams. Let's get into the last player of the video. So the final sell of today's video, or sells, are going to be the all ancient Steelers team. Going to be Aaron Rodgers, Michael Pittman, and DK Metcalf. The 2 receivers are going to be going into their age 29 seasons, both of them, and Aaron Rodgers is going to be playing his age 42 season. Rodgers no longer has dynasty value. I would just take what I can get for him if you can, unless I guess he's one of your only 2 or 3 quarterbacks, in which case you have a brand new problem. The receivers, however, are also just going to be way, way overvalued on the market today. They're both going to be 29 years old and are mostly just surviving off of name value. I would take what I can get from Metcalf, ideally in the form of a first-round pick, but that's just not likely compensation anymore. If you want some help making a deal for Metcalf or Pittman to get them off your roster, I would recommend popping into the aforementioned community Discord, and I can see what kind of deals we can help you make. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video where we covered 6 players and their market values, whether you should be buying or selling them as well. If you liked the video, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It helps a bunch. If you're looking for more from me, come check out the John Talks Ball community Discord in the link in the description. I'll be giving free advice and some free team breakdowns for the first few members to join. That's all from me. I'm John, you're watching John Talks Ball, and I hope you have a great day. Peace.